Senator, call the meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Twenty-one supervisors are present. Supervisors Nordigan and Nedweski are excused.
Also present is Virgilio Castro from Joint Services. Citizen comments. Any citizen wish to speak? Any citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Lori Hawkins, 18513 102nd Street, Bristol. First of all, thank you all for doing what you do. It's beautiful summer nights, and I appreciate that you're here rather than enjoying the perfect weather that we have finally after all the heat. My citizen comments have to do with a request I made to the chair of the Racial and Ethnic Equity Commission, Xavier Solis, at the beginning of July for contact information for his commissioners. I emailed him on, I believe it was July 5th, saying that we wanted to be able to have citizens to contact these commissioners in order to support them, show support, ask questions, and to comment on what they are doing. Because I never received a reply from him, I, through public records request, got the email addresses of the commissioners for that commission and shared them to the organizations that I work with so that people could reach out to these commissioners. I know that there's been criticism for that, and I wanted to be very transparent as to why I did that and use it as a reason for why these commissioners should have either county email addresses or a Google voice number or something so that they can be contacted. I realize that they are private citizens. But even private citizens like me who come up here to give citizen comments give their home addresses so that it can be made public record. I feel that having some way to connect with these commissioners who are making very important decisions affecting the lives of our citizens should be able to be contacted by people in the community so that their work can be informed. I feel that Chair Solis has shown yet again that since he's been appointed by County Executive Samantha Kirkman, he is not up to the work for this, to lead this very important commission. I've seen the way he runs his meetings and the fact that he doesn't reply to citizens who are asking to be involved in the work, which I believe is what the reason for this commission was in the first place. So I'm making a request that it be considered by this board that all people who are involved in commissions have a way to be contacted directly by the constituents of this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address.
Tamara Weber, 5022 23rd Place. Good evening. At the last county board meeting, two members of the Kenosha Area Mountain Bike Association spoke in front of you to thank you for helping them bring mountain bike trails to Petrifying Springs Park. There are members of the community that have been trying to preserve the historic hiking, running, snowshoeing trails at the park ever since Matt Collins announced this plan. These citizens who have been enjoying the trails for well over 50 years want their comments heard, and I have agreed to read them to you tonight. No matter what the handbook claims, they did not create the UW Parkside Nature Trails. Those trails were originally cut by the UW Parkside Cross Country team in the late 60s and served as the first UW Parkside cross-country course. All Canva did was destroy the pristine trails and put a permanent scar upon the land with their dirt trails. Imagine World War I, pictures of no man's land. That's what it looks like. Blocking off trails is stupid and non-productive for everyone. Runners, hikers, they leave no scar upon the land, but the fat tire bikes severely rut and ruin a trail. It's like the old 60s song, Big Yellow Taxi, that says they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Only in this case, they tore up paradise and put up a bike trail. Matt Collins has lied to us from day one. He never wanted our input and just paid us lip service. Runners never agreed to the new bridle path, North Loop. We agreed to help maintain the original one, including spreading wood chips. Matt Collins has flat out lied to all of us all along. These trails are being built explicitly for bikers. The massive jumps are not built for runners or hikers. Sadly, the damage has been done. Matt Collins and his lackey, JT Robinson, are doing what they want and will continue to do so. Thought for the day. As I walk the UW Parkside trails along the river, the trails have been there for as long as 75 years, and they aren't sustainable because wood chips and dirt erode. The mountain bike trails are dirt, and they're not going to put wood chips or gravel down. Mountain bikers would be crashing on every turn. Question, how are the dirt mountain bike trails sustainable when knobby tire bikes are riding on them for the next 75 years? This isn't at all about conservation or erosion. Because if it was, they would not have torn up the woods around the trail and built these jumps. It has always been about racing mountain bikes. It's sad in regard to the bridle trail because we have been sharing it with everyone for so long without any problems. Matt Collins, along with Canva, have destroyed the network of trails that have existed for 75 years. They have irresponsibly taken away from the majority for the minority, mountain bikers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
Jody Miracle, 7220 First Avenue. Good government should be open and transparent, and its leadership act in good faith. Our community has seen controversial appointments by Samantha Kirkman, politically driven resolutions, committee meetings moved to inconvenient times, a citizen arrested during his citizen comments, a consolidation of power to Samantha Kirkman's office, arguments between supervisors that defy common sense, and a shadow group called the Kenosha County Citizens for Change that conducted an email smear campaign in an attempt to pressure supervisors to vote for Samantha Kirkman's appointees. The Racial and Ethnic Equity Commission, under the leadership of Samantha Kirkman's appointees, has drawn statewide news organizations to its recent meetings because of its dysfunction, while it fails to address its important mission. Now, a supervisor has sent out an email containing his phase-out plan of that commission, despite it having met none of its goals. At the last meeting of that commission, we learned Samantha Kirkman sent back money to the state, which had been supporting a successful, long-standing program which helped fathers in the community, particularly fathers who were formerly incarcerated. The program strengthened families, helped men develop interpersonal job skills, and made Kenosha County a better place. The program's director said Samantha Kirkman sent back those funds quietly without consulting with the director or its community partners or program participants, and at least some supervisors on the county board were unaware that she had chosen to kill that program. I wrote to Samantha Kirkman yesterday asking for the rationale for killing the program, what programs have been put in place to provide services to the people it used to serve, and what data she has to compare the two. Since the funding used to come from the state, I'd like to know who is funding the replacement programs and the costs. I encourage members of this board to please follow up on obtaining that information. Last week, we saw Samantha Kirkman veto an advisory resolution to encourage solar energy usage, which was passed by this board, vetoing the encouragement of clean energy on the hottest summer on record. I've listened to the District 9 supervisor speak to this board about his personal experiences of being inappropriately pressured on how to vote, and even harassed by one of Samantha Kirkman's appointees about the arm twisting, coercion, and nasty political behavior some have engaged in to prevent resolutions from passing. As I said, I believe good government should be open and transparent, but that is not what we have in Kenosha County. I'm going to share my own personal experience with an open records request, which I started in February of this year. I submitted a request to obtain the applications for and communications surrounding the openings on the Racial and Ethnic Equity Commission in the months prior to the appointments of Xavier Solis and Brian Gonzalez. I submitted that request in February and was told my request was overbroad. I consulted with a local attorney and appropriately narrowed my request. It was resubmitted at the end of March. I was told my request was still overbroad, but having consulted with an attorney, I stood by my request as submitted. On April 21st, I was told I would receive a response by the end of the following week. I heard nothing from the county for 7 weeks until I followed up on June 2nd. I was told my request was still being worked on, and I was asked again if I would like to narrow it. I declined. On July 18th, with still no response from the county, I contacted an attorney with the ACLU. He said my request was appropriate and not overbroad, and he advised me to contact the Kenosha District Attorney's Office or the Wisconsin Department of Justice. I contacted the district attorney, who said I would have a response from the county by the end of the following week. Finally, on July 26th, I received an email from the county, but what I didn't receive was the information I requested. Despite having consulted with 2 separate attorneys, despite involving the district attorney, and despite waiting nearly 6 months. The attorney with the ACLU told me that the Attorney General's office advises completion of these requests within 10 days. He said sometimes it takes up to 30 days in Milwaukee County because of its size. I've been attempting to have my request fulfilled for almost 6 months in Kenosha County. The attorney with the ACLU said,
You have 10 seconds
and
left.
I quote, "They're messing with you." Right now, Kenosha County government is operating in a way that lacks transparency and appears to lack good faith. It seems especially unwilling to let the sun shine in on Samantha Kirkman's controversial appointments to the Racial and Ethnic Equity Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Seeing none? Citizen comment closed. Okay, I just, one note here. Yesterday, we had a rating presentation with Fitch and S&P. Everything went very well, and we may get the results next week, and hopefully they will give us a AAA rating. Any supervisor reports? Supervisor Rose.
I would like to report recent numbers that were developed by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue and given to our finance director today with respect to the equalized value increases in Kenosha County. These are increases over 2022, and there are 2 numbers or 2 percentages that I would share with you. TID being tax incremental district, in would be a little over 12% increase, and with the tax incremental district out, it is almost 11%. I think these are outstanding numbers. The net new construction for 2022 is almost 2.7%. So I think these are very outstanding numbers and indicate a real growth in this county, 2023 over 2022.
Thank you. Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want a couple of things out at Petrifying Springs that I brought up a couple months ago in regards to the parking and the overcapacity there. This past Sunday, we had the same issue again. Just want to make the county board aware of that. I believe it's being addressed also. If they're parking on County Road JR, which is a huge public safety issue, they literally have to walk onto the road to access their cars. It's just not a safe situation for anybody. The reason I'm being vocal about this is because I can't, if someone is to get hurt walking to their car on County Road JR, if you've never been on that road, the cars tend to fly down there, and it's very hilly, and people do not see. And if I don't say anything and someone gets hurt, that's on me. But everybody needs to know that there's a huge overcapacity issue. There's literally no place to park on the lot off JR or in the lot right across from there, or anyone else to patronize that park if you don't want to drink beer. It's an awful situation. In regards to Petrifying Springs, UW Parkside, give me a moment here. This is just a little bit of a historical road trip for everybody here, because I don't think most people were alive when this was purchased. But back in 1927, the county bought the land for Petrifying Springs, approximately 350 acres. At the same time, they bought the land for Fox River and Silver Lake County Parks. Petrifying Springs is nearly 100 years old and has had trails since it was purchased, as it was farmland then, and they would use these farms. The first known event on the trails within Pets was in June of 1941, as reported by the Racine Journal-Times on June 23, 1941. Kenosha Outdoor Club held the first hikers convention on hiking clubs in southern Wisconsin and in Illinois. So literally now for 80 plus years, there have been trails out of Petrifying Springs. Carthage College, starting in 1963 and through the early 1990s, held an annual cross-country meet on the trails in Pets and part of the golf course. They even hosted the NCAA Division III National Championship for cross-country at Pets in the late 70s or early 80s. I could not remember exactly. Kenosha News article from April 14, 1966. The article focuses on the beauty of the park and the amenities and the over 7 miles of foot trails. That's almost 60 years ago. Kenosha News article February 17, 1985. The article focuses on the pet ski trails that draw thousands and the great trails available for cross-country skiers. Pets even had bridle paths for those who enjoyed riding their horses on the trails, dating back an estimated 70 years or more. On the trails that the county leases from UW Parkside, property was purchased in the early 1960s to build the UW Parkside campus. Trails already existed from the farmers that owned that property in some degree. In the late 1960s, UWP had their first cross-country team, and Mike DeWitt of Kenosha ran on those existing trails. And the team created additional trails for their training in the years to follow, even holding cross-country meets on those trails. The UW Parkside ski team was formed and held practices and competition on these trails, as well as through the mid-1980s. In fact, there are 2 dedicated trail systems within the leased property of UW Parkside. They're called the Cleary Trails and the Ann B. William Trails. The miles of trails between Pets and UW Parkside have long established and enjoyed by runners, hikers, nature runners, well before anyone on mountain bikes hit the trails. Should be noted, as per county policy, biking of any type on unpaved trails and Pets is not a permitted activity. The policy should not have been overlooked or ignored. If mountain biking is an activity somewhat considered for Pets, then a formal process should be taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Carroll.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Nudo. A few things for announcements. The PDEC Committee meeting in the month of August has been canceled due to lack of agenda items, so we'll be resuming in September. Another event in Western Kenosha County took place, and you all should have received an email from the Sheriff's Department on it, reporting it as a Country Thunder event, which was the weekend before last. As far as my conversations with the village and a couple of people in the county, in my personal experience, the traffic was much better this year than last year. We didn't have the issues, and I attribute that to the activity control license and the limiting of the attendees at the event. So as far as I know, there were no incidents that were reported to the village, and very few reported to the Kenosha County Sheriff's Department, other than what was shown in the report. The Public Works report. We had a meeting last week, Monday. You all should have received an email, or should see on the agenda items, all the items of report. So I'm only going to report on the few items that were different than what were in that report. We had the Keith Funk in attendance for the appointment to the Kenosha County Traffic Safety Committee due to the retirement of Ken. I'm going to mess up the name. Urquhart, I think is how it's pronounced. On the highway report, we didn't have anything out of the ordinary from there. On the facilities, the Civic Center parking lot paving was completed ahead of schedule and was set to open last week, Tuesday, ahead of the anticipated finishing date of August 1st. It should have gone just fine. For the Parks Division, there's an important event coming up called Picnic in the Park on August 19th, which is a big event. I'm sure that you all have seen the advertisement for that. And then at Veterans Park, there was a wedding ceremony that took place, scheduled many months in advance, but the restrooms needed to get finished up for that particular event, and it was through by a veteran wedding ceremony. At the facility special projects, one thing to note is that the KCC generator bids came in. I saw that they were collected and they were being reviewed. Hopefully we'll have an update on that at the next meeting. And then there was some discussion about the courthouse restoration, that there was a certain mural that was almost done, which is more of a test. And then we also got a little bit of an update that the Jeffers Family Challenge Grant, that they're looking to raise a total of $1.3 million. They have $375,000 already committed. They have another $250,000, which is the last $250,000 to get over the finish line. So they have a gap to fill yet, and they were hoping that they would have that finished by sometime next year to be able to start the project in 2024 and release the bids next fall. That's kind of a general update on that one. We also got an update from Shelley at the golf regarding the golf. That report was not included in the agenda items. I do have a copy of it here for anybody that's interested. The estimated rounds for the month or through the year were 57,000. Through mid-July, we did get an updated report that everybody should have got from Chris that we're closer to 60,000, which is a little above 2022. So the round numbers are strong this year, despite some of the weather early in the season. We also got introduced to Mike Wallace, who's the new interim director, and is also scheduled for appointment coming up in the future board item here, coming up in the board item. The assistant golf pro and clubhouse manager position has been filled with a Dan Burlock. So that was, we were notified of that as well. And then we've got a few other updates on some of the other projects that are going on with the Red Pines irrigation, Blue Spruce, Red Pine practice area improvements, pets maintenance facility, and some tree and brush removal. If anybody wants to know about that, please see me after the meeting, or we can send this report to you. And last but not least, we reached an important milestone for County Highway EM. The project is substantially complete, and there's a ribbon cutting scheduled for this Friday, August 4th. That'll be in attendance. So anybody interested in attending, please let us know, or the county executive know. That concludes my report.
Supervisor Brady?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Supervisor Carroll, what is the time and the place for the ribbon cutting for County EM?
Let me look it up here really quick. The place is the sandbar, which is at the south end of County Highway EM, right on Twin Lakes. That's where the boat launch is. And let me just confirm when the time is. It's 9 a.m. on August 4th.
And you were able to actually take a look at the area, you walk the area and check it out since they've been in construction yourself?
I have driven it several times, and I communicated a couple of minor areas of concern with the Public Works Director, and they were working on resolutions.
So are the punch list items all complete for that, or does the contractor still have some things to finish off?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what the status of the punch list is for that.
Okay. And then just last question, in terms of public feedback and acceptance and so forth, have you had much or anecdotal evidence about what the result from the public has been?
Yeah, there's been some positive news on that. Just some general people walking up and down the road have expressed their gratitude and their pleasure with how the project has turned out. I've also talked with the Village of Twin Lakes President, Howard Skinner, and he's had some positive feedback as well on it. So in general, it's been a positive project.
That pretty much finished up on time and on budget, correct?
Very closely. I think there were a couple of hiccups along the way with some castings, some manhole covers, and a few other issues that with the utility companies holding things up. But in general, I would say it was a very challenging project that went very well for the challenges that were set out for schedule and timing and rain events and everything else.
Well, good. Thank you for the information, and that concludes my questions.
Supervisor Brady?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For many of you, you know that I've been going through court through a divorce for the past 18 months, and I want to thank you all for the support that you've given me. Furthermore, I want to thank the support for those in the community that have showed up to my hearing. Charles Gunluck and Megan Decker Gunluck, thank you for showing up. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Supervisor Bush?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to provide an update on, I'll make it 3 activities. Recently, I had opportunity to attend a listening session regarding the reconstruction work at Highways C and U. And I know you've received multiple emails about what was open during the fair, so people can make or traverse easily the east-west route. I will say that there was robust public comment about this project, not for it, against it, for a number of reasons. People that live in the area see this as less than desirable outcome. They were hoping for a roundabout, etc. However, Mr. Obaganchua gave a very great, I think it's how you actually say it. So, Clement, anybody that didn't get that. Clement gave a great presentation about the why, and this is a high traffic, high volume area with multiple factories, multiple plants that will be utilizing this access point. However, their hope is that the traffic will flow to the south rather than to the north. I'm not confident that we have lied any of the public's concerns. However, I have pressed further with Ms. Billingsley that they will continue to monitor and, if necessary, apply some additional signage and restrictions on loads as well as restrictions on egress from Haribo and others that are in that area. That's 1. 2, Kenosha County Broadband Advisory Committee. I reported on this to the Executive Committee last week. However, we did make a number of recommendations to the county executive for application of funds associated with broadband in the area. And 3 of those proposals were specific to pulling additional fiber optic lines, high-speed internet lines in our parks, including the Kemper and Anderson Arts Center, Silver Lake Park, and Old Settlers Park. If you look at these 3 facilities and just do a simple mental template, and Veterans Memorial as well, I'm sorry I just alluded there, but if you look at our 4 major parks, these are high value facilities. Specifically Kemper Center on the lakeshore is probably the most expensive. Settlers Park with a new pavilion, the lake with everything that happens there, pavilions, cookout, swimming lake, etc. So these are high value facilities. They're also high occupancy with a lot of people utilizing all these locations. They also present risk. As I think we just heard, the bathrooms out at Veterans Memorial were damaged pretty much upon opening by someone who decided to enter the park after hours and do a lot of damage. We've had the same issue at Silver Lake Park and other instances that have occurred. So what the funding proposal that we have recommended is, in essence, $378,000 to be applied toward expansion of broadband, which will also allow us to expand security options within each of these locations. And through the funds, we are able to do so. We had clarification on that. So through the ARPA funds, we will also be incorporating security cameras and other security devices to make sure that we can properly monitor our parks and try to create a better safety zone for all who are utilizing the park. And then last, I'd like to talk to Pringle Nature Center. We had our annual budget meeting and opportunity to review where Pringle Nature Center is at. I'll say that our meeting was interrupted in the middle of it as a large group of goats showed up to begin their work of clearing underbrush on the property. So we did go outside for intermission to play with the goats. That was interesting. And I believe you've seen them in the paper as of yesterday or day before as well. So it's quite interesting what's happening out at Pringle. In summary, Pringle is roughly a 3% over budget spend this year. However, they were able to bring in through fundraising activities 121% of budget. So they have far surpassed their goals and have underwritten all their costs this year as they've continued to expand. As you've heard, the AAW, this is the all-wheel accessibility chair. This is a tracked wheelchair for paraplegic or quadriplegic individuals and others who need stability support to enjoy our parks, is housed at Pringle, and it can be checked out from there. It can, however, be hooked up to a vehicle that can take it to any park in our system or other location or event, as it is provided out of by an organization out of Illinois. We're looking forward to when that happens, and everyone will have opportunity to celebrate the success of opening our parks up further to those who have not been able to utilize them appropriately. I asked what contributes to the increase in revenue income for the park, and they have been trying a robust number of new programs this year. The staff is very energized and doing some great things, including working with the goats, Wildflower Run. AmeriCorps was in the park and widened all of the main trails extensively. They've widened them to 10 feet, so the park is even more accessible. They've also been able to secure grants from Rust-Oleum, who provided a grant through a fundraiser, and through the membership drive in collaboration with Boundless Adventures. So again, if you have opportunity to utilize Crystal Park and the Nature Center, please do so. If you have opportunity to volunteer, 72 volunteers this year contributed 3,615 hours of their time to support what's happening within the park. Program and event rentals had 4,859 participants, and the total number of visitors for Pringle Nature Center specifically was 7,693 folks this year. That's an increase of 190% from 21-22 year, and I would say they're doing an exceptional job. So get out and enjoy the parks and join everybody together. Thank you.
You Supervisor comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. To Supervisor Banshaw. A couple years ago, Pringle was exploring expanding the footprint of the building to have larger functions there. Is that Did they report on that at all, or is that falling off their radar?
I won't say it's fallen off the radar, but acquiesced to budgetary constraints. Right now, their focus is a roof and some other functional elements, but it's not on the radar, on the plan.
Any other supervisor? Any other supervisor? Any other supervisor? Seeing none, supervisor.
County Board Chairman appointments, 3, Brian Bashaw to serve on the Kenosha County Joint Services Board.
Refer to judiciary and law.
County Executive appointments, 20, James Wallace to serve as Director of Golf Operations, Kenosha County Division of Golf.
Refer to public works committee.
Communication received from the County Executive regarding her veto of Resolution 31 as adopted on July 18th, 2023.
Okay, this motion is to override the veto of the county executive to Resolution 31 is adopted by the county board on July 18, 2023. 2/3 vote of the entire board is required. Supervisor Bashaw.
Thank you, Chairman. I move the motion to override the executive's veto of resolution number 23.
Second. Resolution 31.
Did I say it right? I said 31.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Bashaw, second by Supervisor Uwas. Supervisor Bashaw. I'm sorry?
Supervisor Rose seconded.
Okay, let's change to that. Supervisor Bashaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, board members. As you're aware, this resolution has been before us for an extended period of time in a variety of discussion venues, including through committees and on this floor. This board approved the resolution, moving it 11:10 on the night thereof. I'm confident it would have been 13:10 if everyone had been here. However, it did pass by a majority, and not just a majority, it was a plurality of the board members that moved this forward. The executive has taken it upon herself, which is her legal right and authority, to veto this resolution and to countermand what the board has already passed. I find it interesting, as I've read the letter that was provided by the executive, that now the red herring that is most important is how do we dispose of solar panels. I find it interesting in that if the executive were concerned about how to dispose of solar panels, I have never heard that stated, as we have 1 million+ panels being installed by Paris Solar. So it's an interesting statement in my mind. But rather than focus on my impressions, let me take you through a little bit of data. We have a lot of construction happening, as we know, within our community. Those facilities are 1 million+ square foot environments. 1 million square foot environment is a hungry beast. It's hungry for water, it's hungry for space, and it's hungry for electricity. It is a net consumer of vast amounts of electricity to sustain these structures. So when you install a 1 million square foot facility, it's hungry for space. It's
State your point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is not on the veto. What's in front of us is the veto, not the resolution.
I guess that would be part of that, and the reason why the veto should be overridden. Okay. Quite Supervisor question.
Thank you, Chairman. 1 million square feet equals approximately 23 acres of real estate. If we play these numbers out a little bit further, 10 million square feet equals to 229.56 acres of real estate. We can produce approximately 1 megawatt of power on 5 acres of real estate. So that same piece, 10 million square feet, is 45.9 megawatts of power that is generated. That is on approximately 40 acres. How many homes do we have in Kenosha County? I'll round it off, 60,000, 59,989 homes or residences, that includes apartments, in Kenosha County. That's 164 homes that are provided power by each megawatt that is produced. Each of those megawatts takes approximately 5 acres of land. If it's the executive's intention to override and veto this resolution, is it also then the county executive's intention to continue to consume agricultural lands in lieu of utilizing other alternatives for solar energy? According to the EPA.gov, there are 3 users of electricity: commercial, residential, and industrial. Residential is competing with industrial. I believe it's important that we provide every opportunity to provide good energy solutions for our residents. However, to provide all the power necessary, we would have to create 3 solar farms in Kenosha County. 3 of these massive facilities to provide the power needs that we no longer can provide in other ways. So I ask you to consider, why would we not want an advisory resolution that indicates, instead of just stripping lands, instead of consuming more agricultural or open spaces, that advises that we consider alternate locations for solar, alternate applications of this readily available resource, and preserving our environment that is around us. I ask you to overturn this veto. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lewis, did you want to say anything to second the motion? Did you want to speak on it?
Not at this time.
Okay. Any other supervisor wish to speak? Any other supervisor wish to speak? Supervisor Burr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, the corporation council, or anybody else who can answer this question, when is the last time we had a veto, and what was it for?
Go ahead.
The last time there was a county executive veto was in 2009. It dealt with the 2010 budget. It was a line item specifically related to a provision that the board had put in during the budget process to provide supervisors with county health insurance without a contribution to the.
Wow. Think about that. This county board tried to use taxpayer dollars to have free health insurance, yet we're sitting here worried about solar panels. This is what we're at today, that we're going to veto silly little resolutions like this, advisory resolutions. This is a waste of our time. And the fact that we're here having to discuss this is ridiculous. We have better things to be doing than this. So I will be supporting the, what do we call this? The rescinding of the veto, because this is ridiculous. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Gibbs.
Thank you. I'm really disappointed that the county accepted this. Really disappointed. I mean, basically, her veto is saying that, you know, our voice doesn't really matter. Our constituents' voices don't really matter. I mean, we've battled on this board. All of a sudden, in the last 4 to 6 years, there have been sides. Sides. That's ridiculous. We should be here doing the county's business, and we have sides. Well, you know what? On this, some people from different sides got together, and it passed. What a revelation. And then it gets an advisory resolution gets vetoed by the executive. That's appalling. Appalling. I mean, if I was on the other side of this, one of the 10, I would still vote to overturn her veto. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's saying that we don't matter. And our constituents don't matter. Very disappointing. She obviously hasn't heard the phrase, pick your battles. Because this battle is a ridiculous one to pick. And I'm offended as a county board supervisor, not only to have this discussion, but that this veto was put forward. Thank you.
Any other supervisors? Any other supervisors? Any other supervisors? Okay. Roll call has been requested. So the motion is to override the veto of the county executive to resolution 31 is adopted by the county board on July 18, 2023. Two-thirds of the vote of the entire board is required. So a vote yes means to override the veto. Vote no is to sustain the veto. Okay? Roll call.
Motion fails. 13 yes, 7 no, 1 abstain. I read it right.
I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Resolution 40 from the Public Works and Facilities Committee, a resolution for the appointment of Lieutenant Keith Funk to the Traffic Safety Commission. This passed unanimously at committee. Supervisor Stock, Belsky, and Stocker excused.
Supervisor Carroll.
Move resolution 40.
Moved by Supervisor Carroll, second by Supervisor Ray. Supervisor Carroll.
Yes, this is a resolution for appointment of Keith Funk to the Traffic Safety Commission. Keith was before us and is a member of the Sheriff's Department and seems very qualified for the position. So I ask for the support of the board tonight in appointing Mr. Funk to the commission.
Any supervisor comments? Any supervisor comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Resolution 41 from Vice Chair Decker, Supervisors Rodriguez, Poole, Nedwesky, and the Executive Committee, a resolution recognizing September 10th through 16th, 2023 as National Assisted Living Week. This passed unanimously at committee. Supervisors Stock and Carroll excused.
Vice Chair Decker.
Move resolution 41.
Moved by Supervisor Decker, second by Supervisor Thomas. Vice Chair Decker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution came about because actually we had earlier passed a resolution recognizing our nursing homes. And I had the director, Ms. McDowell, I consulted with her on that, and she let me know about National Assisted Living Week. And since Willowbrook is an assisted living facility, I figured that was a good way to recognize Willowbrook in addition to Brookside. So this resolution recognizes National Assisted Living Week, especially Willowbrook Assisted Living.
Any supervisor comments? Any comments? Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Resolution 42 from Vice Chair Decker, Supervisors Rodriguez, Poole, Nedwesky, and the Executive Committee, a resolution recognizing September 2023 as National Preparedness Month. This passed unanimously at committee. Supervisors Stock and Carroll excused.
Vice Chair Decker.
Move resolution 42.
Moved by Vice Chair Decker, second by Supervisor Rose. Vice Chair Decker.
This is a resolution recognizing September 2023 as National Preparedness Month. We felt it was important to recognize this month, considering the fact we have had tornadoes, floods, storms in which power has been out for days. So I believe it's fitting to recognize this and to encourage all citizens to take proper safety measures to prepare for all natural disasters. Thank you.
Thank you. Any supervisor comments? Any comments? Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Communications 30, a communication from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the probationary cabaret license, BB's Pub, 6215 Green Bay Road, Kenosha, Wisconsin, 53142 in the town of Summers.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee.
31, a communication from Vice Chair Decker and Supervisors Rodriguez, Poole, and Nedwesky, a resolution recognizing October 2023 as National Domestic Violence Awareness and Prevention Month.
Refer to Executive Committee.
32, communication from Vice Chair Decker and Supervisors Rodriguez, Belsky, Poole, and Nedwesky, a resolution recognizing September 15th through October 15th, 2023 as Hispanic Heritage Month.
Refer to Executive Committee.
33, communication from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution authorizing and providing for the sale and the issuance of not to exceed $16,035,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2023A, and all related details.
Refer to Finance Committee.
Claims for Virginia Hardesty, property damage.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
5, Richard Steinhofer, personal injury.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
6, Matthew Stephen Voigt, personal injury.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
The approval of the July 18th, 2023 minutes by Vice Chair Decker.
Vice Chair Decker.
Motion to approve the minutes from July 18th, 2023.
Moved by Vice Chair Decker, second by Supervisor Rodriguez. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Approved. Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Rodriguez, instead of second. Any comments? All in favor?